2,820 hours and 28 minutes. That is how much time we have between now and when the first ballot is cast on the 24th of June 2023. The clock is ticking. The process of becoming a contestant in any election is probably one of the most exhaustive most people may ever endure. Mustering their courage to present themselves to harsh public scrutiny, enlisting the support of family and friends, the grind to raise the resource required, the bustle to jostle for political party tickets. The path is arduous. We're now exactly 118 days away from Sierra Leone's date with destiny. In this defining moment in the history of Sierra Leone, here at AYV Media, we recognize the mantle thrust upon us to be the voice of the nation fully. We take our task to ensure fair coverage seriously, and we intend to honor our pledge to you, to be your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced news. Totally. This is our commitment to you. We now are well and truly on the home stretch, and as we count down the last 118 days to the June 2023 polls, as part of our Sierra Leone Decide series, AYV Media shall present to you a series of assessing those who put themselves forward for election. Tonight, we start with the men and women who have expressed interest or perceived having interest in being the running mate to the elected flag bearer of the opposition All People's Congress Party. They have been termed bold, flamboyant, charismatic, but also brash, untested, and enigmatic. My name is Samura Kamara, and this is AYV on Sunday. All right, good evening, and a very warm welcome to AYV on Sunday. Today we are assessing the men and women who have expressed interest or perceived having interest in becoming the running mate to the elected flag bearer of the opposition All People's Congress Party, Dr. Samura Kamara. You can follow us on our different channels. You can watch us on AYV Television on Channel 33, on DSTV Channel 399, listening to us on Radio FM 101.7, and on AYV News Facebook page. There you have the opportunity to be part of the conversation. Drop your comments, ask your questions. We will always find time to go through some of them. We're only pleading that you tailor your comments to the issues being discussed here. With me, as always, I have a star-studded panel of people who are in touch with the issues who would help us unpack the conversation for the next 2 hours. I have the the Communications Director for the National Commission for Democracy, Reverend Jibril Akabu. Reverend, good evening and welcome to AYV Sunday.
Good evening and thanks for hosting me.
Right, I have the Executive Director for Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability, Alhaj Marcos Bagura. Good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
All right, we're with Dr. Leone Umar Bangura, who heads the Political Science Department at Furabe College, University of Sierra Leone, to join us in the studio. But on Zoom, we have the former presidential spokesman, Abdoulaye Berete, who joins us from Canada. Abdoulaye, good evening and welcome to Wake Up Sierra Leone. Abdoulaye Berete, are you there with us? All right, when we're able to get Abdoulaye Berete and Valnora Edwin on Zoom, we'll bring them into the conversation. But let me start off with actually taking a story that was compiled by Bokari Matia, giving a brief overview of those who have expressed interest in running for the, in asking Dr. Samura Kamara to select any of them as his running mate for the June 24th polls. Let's join Bokari Matia and we will be right back.
The vice presidency is provided for under Section 54, subsection 1 of the Sierra Leone Constitution, Act No. 6 of 1991, that there shall be a vice president of the Republic of Sierra Leone who shall be the principal assistant to the president in the discharge of his executive functions. Over the past 2 general elections, interesting choices and debates have presented fine personalities for the position of the 2 main political parties. With barely 4 months to go to polls, the Sierra Leone People's Party has maintained the same ticket of Julius Maada Bio and Mohamed Julde Jallow as it did in 2018.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you and say the same ticket we are going on last election. Me and Alhaji Dr. I want to tell His Excellency, thank you for the faith and the responsibility we're giving these 4 years, when to the best of my ability, I don't try to perform out for satisfy. I want to tell His Excellency, thank you for renewing in confidence in me for Olutama 2023.
With the All People's Congress Party National Delegates Conference completed and Dr. Samura Matthew Wilson Kamara elected as their flag bearer after polling 1,382 votes, the party is now in the race for the general elections. Several names are flying around the corners of the All People's Congress Party as to who the next flag bearer would be. In his acceptance speech, the newly elected flag bearer, Dr. Samura Matthew Wilson Kamara, called for calm and party unity. Not as he and his running mate were selected by the former chairman and leader Dr. Anesbai Koroma in 2017, Dr. Samura Matthew Wilson Kamara will this time announce his running mate after consultation with the National Advisory Council, the party's second highest decision-making body, in accordance with their new constitution. With gender, regional, tribal and religious considerations, there are several names up for him to select from. His 2018 running mate, popular Western area politician and Fulabai tribe, Honorable Cherno Majuba, commonly known as Cherikoko, the United States-based and the new kid on the block and big spender Mohammed Kamara, commonly known as Moni Jagaban, who is from Kenema and Fulatong.
Empty noise, it make a lot. Empty can make a lot of noise. Yes. They tell you now, leave me on can, and then they make noise.
Kono strong female politician Finda Diana Konomani and the former vice president, who was only a few days ago readmitted to the APC, Chief Samuel Samsumana, a popular female politician who has enjoyed the support of the Creole community, Mayor Ivo Akisoya, and former Deputy Health Minister Madina Rahman, a Muslim from the Western area and Fuabe community. United Kingdom-based veteran journalist turned politician Winston Ojukutu Macaulay believes that the gender ticket will play a major role in who will be the running mate to Dr. Samura Matthew Wilson Kamara.
Taking into consideration the strategic move by the ruling party, i.e. the SLPP, by the president retaining Jules Diallo as running mate, I think the issue of religion comes into play, i.e. the Muslim. I think Sierra Leone is over 60% a Muslim country. But there is also the issue of the gender. We have a situation where Sierra Leonean women want that space. And that space has been occupied from time immemorial by men. And now the women are also demanding a political space. And I think that is the challenge Dr. Samura now faces, whether he should listen to the women and give that space to a woman. But that woman should also carry some other qualities, i.e., is she a Muslim? And which area of Sierra Leone is she coming from? You see, these are some of the issues that Dr. Samura now has, and his advisors now has to face to determine within the next couple of weeks who is going to be his running mate.
With Dr. Jules Diallo already on the ticket for the Sierra Leone People's Party, a Fulabai tribe, the New Age newspaper today's banner headline reads, "Ditch Cherikoko and lose 2023 elections." Until a flag bearer is announced, the debate will continue on both social and mainstream media, while the streets are flooded with billboards. Whatever the appointment will be, it is believed that a running mate will have a significant influence on who will win the June 24th multi-day elections. Bokari Matia, AYV News, Freetown.
Many thanks to Bokari Matia for putting that piece together, looking at the race for running mates in the Opposition All People's Congress Party. I would love to start off with Abdullahi Biriti. His party, the APC, and a party he served as National Publicity and Outreach Coordinator, the Ministry of Information and Communications, and later Presidential Spokesman for Ernest Bai Koroma. Abdullahi Biriti, are you there with us?
Yes, I am with you, and thank you for the kind invitation to be part of this program.
All right, we're not getting you in the studio. Hope the technicians will just work on that so that we are able to hear what Biriti is saying in the studio. But Abdullahi, let me ask this question. The race in the APC already for the running mate position, where does that put Dr. Samura Wilson Kamara at this moment after being elected the party's flag bearer?
Thank you. I hope you are hearing me now.
Loud and clear.
Thank you for the kind invitation, Samuel Wise and AYP. After the McKinney Convention, Dr. Samura Kamara is currently preoccupied with reaching out to his fellow contestants, reassuring them that, you know what, in the interest of the party and the country, they should all come and rally behind him so that we can give the SLPP a run for their money. After those, and in so doing, he is also doing a lot of consultations. Mind you, the office of Vice President should not only be viewed within the context of democracy within the APC party. It has something to do with the national constitution as well. Because if you go to section 54, article 2A, it is very clear that the flag bearer of our party and any other party must designate a running mate before the presidential elections. And this is where, being the principal assistant to the president, Samura Kamara, Dr. Samura Kamara will need somebody who will be there, one, to protect the Constitution, somebody who will be there as the designation of principal assistant as provided for in the Constitution. That is why in our own Constitution, the APC 2022 Constitution, Article 57 is very clear that the flag bearer who has been elected duly in McKinney will have to present a running mate to the second highest body of the party, which is NAC, that is the National Advisory Committee, so that at least we'll make sure that person is not only in for the APC, but overall, somebody that will also work in tandem with Dr. Samura when he will have become president. So the consultations are going, and one thing though that cannot be taken away from Dr. Samura is being very strategic in the sense that he doesn't want to just appoint a running mate for the sake of it, but rather doing the consultations, doing the vetting. That way, by the time he names a running mate, Sierra Leoneans will jubilate to say, yes, when the president is asleep, this person can run the affairs of the state.
Permit me to ask this question. Going back to the 2018 elections, Dr. Samura Kamara and Honorable Chano Rabadan Majuba were selected to go with the ticket of the APC. And Honorable Chaikoko, as is fondly called, is still interested in the post. Is he not already seated, comfortably for the position of a running mate in the APC? Why? What's the problem? What do you think the individual who will be the running mate to Dr. Samura Kamara should possess? What are the criteria on the table at the moment?
At the moment, I can only be the devil's advocate. But one thing I know, I'll still use the operational board of Dr. Samura being very strategic. A lot of issues are going to be taken into consideration. What added political capital will the person bring not only within the All People's Congress Party, but to the nation as a whole, because it is going to be a teamwork. In the president and the vice president, that is why they all fall under Chapter 5 of the executive arm as provided for in our Constitution. So it is not automatic. Had it been automatic because 2018, Cherno Majuba was the running mate, if it would have been automatic, that would have been announced in the convention immediately after Dr. Samura Kamara would have been elected the duly flag bearer. But now we are trying to be very democratic as a party that is want to respect the tenets as provided for in Article 57 of our APC 2022 Constitution, whereby inasmuch as the flag bearer is given the mandate to come up with a running mate, he is also subjected to have that consultation with the National Advisory Committee. And this is where, as a party, we are very delighted when we see so many people expressing interest. The interest is to serve Sierra Leone. And this is where Dr. Samura Kamara continues to be strategic, doing consultations. At the end of the day, when he names a running mate, that person will know that, yes, due diligence has been done, and that person definitely will be able to be the principal assistant as provided for in Section 54 of our Constitution.
What would you say with regards to the names that are flying around who are interested for the position of running mate? Madina Rahman, who served in the former government, in the Health Ministry, Mayor Yvonne Akisoya, the current Mayor of Freetown Municipality. You have Alhaji Sheikh Mohammed Kamara, the Money Jagaban, the big spender in the game right now. You have Honorable Cherno Ramadan Majuba, Diana Konomani, who, from the East Kono, one of those who were said to have machinated the plan to kick Sam Sumana out of the party. And Sam Sumana himself is being perceived to be interested in the post. So with all of these names in the pool, what should the party look for in these people?
I think the party should look at somebody who is not just about the APC. We know the Constitution is very clear in Section 41 that for you to become a president and by extension a vice president, you must belong to a political party. But what Dr. Samura Kamara is looking at right now transcends just the party. Mind you, if you go to his track record, this is somebody who has served our country thick and thin, from being a financial secretary, a bank governor, foreign minister, etc. It was only in 2018 that he first ran for a political office. So with that in mind, he will want to bring in a team together whereby they can put Sierra Leone first. And these people that you have named, with all their interests associated with them to be running mates, they have their own strengths in their own rights. But at the end of the day, we'll see who will bring political capital to the party and also the nation. Mind you, the democratization of our country must start within political parties. And once it is within political parties, that is when it will transcend to the bigger picture of the nation. And this is where you can see right now the current issues we are facing in Sierra Leone. It is when people think dogmatically they should be the people that will exercise political power as against the general wish of the people. So I will reiterate the point. In as much as all of these names that you mentioned, none of them has reached out to say, oh, you know what, I want to be, maybe they have expressed that interest in a different way. But I know they are people that will be trusted. They are people that have the interests of Sierra Leone. But again, the buck will stay with Dr. Samura Kamara in consultation with the National Advisory Committee as provided for, as I mentioned, in Article 57 of our 2022 Constitution.
Stay there with us, Abdullah Berete. Let's quickly bring in Valnora Edwin. Valnora, looking at the names that have come up, you take into consideration region based on the politics we practice. The gender card is also on the table. The religious card is also on the table. Already Dr. Samura Kamara is known to be a Christian. So if we are to take all of these things into capital with the names that have been mentioned, what are the things that we should look forward to, I mean, in terms of Dr. Samura Kamara's decision to choose who becomes his running mate?
I think as I hope you can hear me
Loud and
clearly.
clear. Loud and clear.
Okay, that's great. I think as has been stated in the Constitution, whoever serves as a running mate is supposed to be somebody, the principal assistant. And beyond the party level, from a national perspective, that individual could easily act on behalf of the president, could become the president in the event something happens to the president. So that individual needs to come with that package, take these other things. They're not really constitutional provisions, norm issue around the gender, the religion, the ethnicity, the region, etc. It's important. But most importantly, it's about that individual that complements the personality, the competencies of the individual running for presidency. So that individual needs to come with a constituency, they need to come in with maybe management skills, international experience, networks, whatever it takes. And looking at the current in Sierra Leone, the individual needs to come in with some competencies or some solutions that can complement his running for the president and Dr. Samura Kamara, the APC. So, I mean, I've heard the names mentioned. They all in some way seem to be individuals. I think the only one I'm not too familiar with is Mohammed Kamara, alias Jack. But I think most of the others are people who have already served in office, who are currently serving in office or served in office. We have met them, we have met them, and it seems to be a good pool. So Samura in this case would have to decide, because outside all those qualities, you need somebody you can work with. You need somebody you're not in with, but you complement each other, you trust each other, and you think that individual will allow you to win the elections.
Let's look at it this way. You have Madina Rahman from the West, Yvonne Akinsoya from the West, Muhammad Kamara, Moni Jagaban from the East, Cherno Rabanan Majuba from the West, Dana Konomani from the East, Kono, Sam Sumana from the East, Kono, and already the flag bearer of the party is from the North. You compare that to the SLPP. The presidential candidate already is from the South, and his running mate again is from the North. And so he brings, for many, he brings that political capital to the SLPP. Mohamed Julia Jallo, doctor. He brings that political capital to the SLPP with some support from the North that happens to be one of the strongholds of the APC. So if we are to look at, if we are to take that into consideration, what would Madina Rahman bring to the ticket? What would Yvonne Akinsoya bring to the ticket? What would Moni Jagaban bring to the ticket? Or Cherry Koko, or Dana Konomani, or Sam Sumana? How do we play that?
So, outside the fact that the individuals come from a region, let me take myself as an example. Obviously, I'm not contesting an election, but I've worked in so many parts of the country. In fact, I have so many of women and CSO organizations, and I sometimes tease them that you're also welcoming. If I'm contesting for the presidency, are you sure you vote me in? You know, we'll have a laugh over that. So, coming to a particular region, in my view, it's all about what sort of defining role that individual has played, how extensive their network beyond where they so I am from the Western area, but it doesn't mean, or I was born in the Western area, from the Western area by ethnicity, but it doesn't mean I do not have networks in other parts of the country where, for example, if I'm in that position, other parts of the country would not see me as their daughter or that individual that they can gravitate towards. So each of these individuals might hail from a particular country. Yes, it's also important because we want to bridge the gap and becomes a reality that we're all Sierra Leoneans and we need to see ourselves those at high decision-making levels, legitimacy, cohesion, and all of that. But I think it's also about outreach, where they're coming from, and who best could be a winner for Dr. Samura. So each individual is from the West, or whether the individual is from the East, it depends on how far their networks have been, because they have come from a particular region, but it doesn't mean they have extensive network, they have related well, they are loved, they are liked. I know a lot of Sierra Leoneans, a good voter, link on or tuned into hail from their own regions. But it's also about how you have worked in your constituencies, have various networks. So beyond even from your Sierra Leonean, and all you could be, and even for those who you say come from the East or where, they could be from that region. And I think sort of unifying, bringing together and face that will be in all the political parties, not just for the APC.
Valnora, just quickly, do you think the gender card would also influence the decision of who becomes a running mate, with the way the fight for women's empowerment is ongoing?
So now you're asking us to take care of the cheese. Of course, we would like to see a lot of political parties, if women are not their presidential candidate, to see women as their running mates. Again, women qualities as unified, as women who have networks, women who have constituencies, women who can complement. So they can be women. They need to have all these qualities and the men would have that would bring the country together. They already have a constituency of women. Of course, not every woman would vote them in, because women also have political parties they belong to. But definitely having a choice for a woman would be a good, because it would be a first or a second issue of Sierra Leone have a male as a running mate. And I'm very hopeful that all our advocates for the last 20, 25 years and even more, there would be a second opportunity to have a woman as a running mate.
All right, stay there with us, Valnora. Let me come to the studio where we have Jibila Kagbo from the National Commission for Democracy. We've just been joined in the studio by the Head of Political Science at Frobe College, Dr. Leonard Omar Bangura. Good evening and welcome to the show. All right, let's start off with you, Reverend. Looking at what is currently happening with the names being mentioned, what do you think comes to mind if Dr. Samura Kamara at this point should just make a pick from the pool?
Thank you so much, and quite an interesting question. But let me kind of preface the response with what the literature is saying. If you take your time to examine the literature on choosing running mates, especially if you look at American politics, they will tell you essentially there are three factors that nominees or say flag bearers will look at to decide on who becomes their running mate. Number one, you focus on uniting the party and looking at where the APC has come from and where they are today. You know there is so much need for that. So you choose somebody that will work with you to ensure you continue to cement the cracks that have been in existence. But the second factor that is also considered, which is very vital, winning the elections. So you want to have somebody who comes to your ticket and you are assured of getting to State House. But the third element is the issue of governing the country after you would have won. So the three factors are interconnected, and every sober-minded individual who intends to actually say govern the state very well should take all of the three into consideration. And I know that is where Dr. Samura Kamara is now. But let me, even as we take those three factors and analyze them further, let me make a comment.
Go ahead.
On what has happened so far in terms of the process of getting even a flag bearer. Before now, it was done through selection. And coming from a democratic institution, I was also, of course, not in support of that kind of approach, because that is not the democratic approach. And on the day when the elections were conducted, I was in my office watching the program, and I said to myself, finally we are seeing something new in the APC party. I could recall around the 2018 elections, I was hosted on the podium, and I was there with, I think I mentioned that here again, I was there with Ajibu Jallo.
Right.
And I said to him, you have to work on your internal democracy. Yes, others may have their views, and but we know what is very practical to do is when you actually allow people to contest, and then eventually people vote for those that they're interested in, like it has happened. So when I watched what was happening, I said, we are beginning to see a move towards democratizing the party by way of that open show to say, it does not matter the situation, we're going to allow ourselves to go through the contest. And that was done, even though, of course, definitely you're going to have critics, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And I know if Mr. Jallo is watching this program or reviewing what has happened, he would now know exactly what was meant to be fixed in their party, because he said to me, Reverend, why do you fix what is not broken? But the outcome of the 2018 elections, they should indicate that there were cracks. And of course, they investigated the matter, and they came up with their findings as to what led to it. But coming back to the present reality, as we see them moving in the direction of election, which we focus on as the key for democracy, which is in fact what the constitution that we are looking at is emphasizing. So we go again to those three factors. Those that are now vying or expressing interest, let's take back the word vying. Right. Those that are expressing interest to be part of the Samura Kamara ticket for the 2023 elections, we also have to ask the question, how effectively are they balancing the tickets?
In what sense?
Because you look at our country, the kind of politics that we practice, there are several things that come into play. The regional, tribal, ethnic balance in politics. You want to get somebody that will create that. So that there is an appeal. Take your time, if you have time, to study American politics and see what has happened over time. Well, it's almost, the tension is reducing. But just like we have this north-south thing, even in America, if you have somebody who is coming from the north, they would always go for somebody in the south as a running mate, vice versa. That has happened over time. Just take your time to study the people. And so that balancing the tickets, it's a concept in the choice of running mate. It is something...
How difficult the decision by President Julius Maada Bio to choose Mohamed Julius Jallo again as his running mate, how difficult does that make the job of Samura Kamara to choose a running mate? No, well, I'm asking you, talk about the region.
Yes.
You look at the president coming from the south,
now
coming
with,
from the north.
With the pairing of the current president and his, with the current vice president, it was done in 2018. And that became a winning ticket.
Right. So
you are not going to risk substituting that kind of arrangement with another when you have proven it and you know it got you to State House. Now, that's not to prejudice the pairing of Dr. Samura Kamara and Cherry Coco, but looking at the practical reality, it was not a winning ticket. But again, you still go back. Now, then it was selection. Now we are looking at election. Probably the dynamics have changed to keep that arrangement. But again, let's look at all of the ramifications. Geographical factors, the issue of age, gender, religion, all of these are things that they come to play, because at the end of the day, it is about what will ensure your ticket is a winning ticket. But going beyond just winning the elections, you want somebody that will come on board with the right competencies to ensure when you have access to State House, you are not going to be fumbling as to what arrangement should be put in place to run the country. I give you the example of Barack Obama. Barack Obama had the choice between Hillary, that had contested with him in the primaries, but then he chose somebody older with vast experience in foreign policy, where he had a challenge. But of course, as the president of the strongest economy in the world, your foreign policy arrangement should be very, very tough. That was why he brought in Joe Biden, who helped him in that particular area. So if you are making that choice, all of these are elements that should be considered. You want to unite the party? Important. You also want to win? Important. But the right competencies afterwards, after winning, to run or govern the state. Because there are so many things that you are promising now. You need somebody who is going to support you to ensure those promises are fulfilled. There are legislative agendas, let me use the plural there, that you have to focus on. You need somebody, again, that is on your tickets to ensure that is done. And there are several other things. And looking at Sierra Leone, where we are, the economy needs fixing. You are not going to get somebody that becomes a baggage or an empty appendage. Get somebody who comes with you. And of course, it is natural. If the president is not around, that person automatically fills in that gap. Right. So you are bringing somebody who has that clout to also run this country. And it should not be treated as a joke.
All right. Let me bring in Alhaj Makos Bangura from Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability. So you've been following the debate, the interest being expressed, and the perception of those who are said to be interested in the position of running mate to be with Dr. Samura Kamara. With about 6 names: Madina Rahman, Yvonne Akisoya, Mohamed Kamara, Jagaban, Honorable Chernoba, Dana Konomani, and Sam Sumana. What should Dr. Samura Kamara take into consideration when choosing a running mate?
Yeah, thank you for that very important question. It is very, very important that Dr. Samura Kamara has to think very, very wisely to ensure that he appoints somebody that he will pair with for the elections. We have to look at it in 2 perspectives. It's not just winning elections. Yeah. It is all about governance. You may use somebody to win an election. Then after winning the election, the person might not play that very important role to help you succeed.
But at this stage, what is paramount is not about winning the election?
It's about winning the election. That's why we have to look at it in 2 perspectives. Because if we just focus on winning the election, because I hold the view that the objective of every political party is to capture political power through the ballot box. Of course, so winning the election is very, very important, right? And again, we need to look at somebody who has the characteristics of not only winning the election, that's what I'm trying to say, but somebody that will play a pivotal role in helping you during your administration. Let's say, for example, we now have up to 6 contenders. I stand to be correct.
Right.
And we know that prior to this time, the tussle has been the election of the flag bearer. And that is done, well dusted now. The next focus now, or the attention now, has been given to the running mates. And Samura Kamara is at the center stage. And the Constitution gave him the responsibility or the powers to actually appoint a running mate.
Right.
Now, if you look at the party where he belongs, that is All People's Congress, Section 57 of their Constitution, gave him the responsibility to actually appoint a running mate. But once the running mate has been appointed, he is subjected to scrutiny by the NAC, that is the National Advisory Committee. So, and that is fine, because they will have to look at an individual, scrutinize that individual, and there is possibility that he may appoint somebody that he wants, and perhaps NAC can frown at that individual, you understand? So as a result, that is a task. But looking at a running mate...
So in other words, technically it's the party that would have to make
It's the party, as far as I'm concerned. We can look at it technically.
Right.
Now, you look at Section 40 of our national constitution, talks about the presidency, right? How the president can acquire political power, just like that. Then also, when you look at Section 54, it talks about the vice president, you understand? And for one to become a vice president, and that person has to work in conformity, that is prior to the election, with the flag bearer or the standard bearer. So together, in one ticket, they go in for the elections, right? So as it is now, and by the provisions of the APC constitution, right, it is not only the onus of the presidential flag bearer, but rather NAC. So NAC has a very important role to play. But they have to take so many things into consideration, just like Reverend was talking about the issue of unity within the party, right? For the mere fact that they have created a space wherein after the convention, right, there are days, probably we can go to weeks, before appointing a running mate. It could have been fine if they had appointed a running mate immediately after, because you look at how far the APC has come from. You look at the hurdles, the tussles they have gone through. You look at the injunctions and all that that they have surpassed. And you agree with me that it is as a result of acrimony within the party. And on this space that has been given also has a proclivity, you understand, to deepen that acrimony, because space has been given, you understand? And this space that has been given, and now we have 6 contenders, right? And now people are talking about...
So you're saying Dr. Samura Kamara should have appointed his running mates,
yes,
and then use this time now to reconcile?
No, as a matter of fact, right? Because looking at the period, right, if he had appointed somebody, I hold the view that there could have been a situation wherein certain people could have shed eyebrows, you understand? But at this time, these few days or weeks, they could have gone to the extent of resolving it. But now going to this particular period, now it's almost a week, or we are going to a week, almost a week, you understand? And now we have not got a flag, a running mate, right? The first one has been completed. Now we are talking about a running mate.
Right.
And you have different factions. Each faction is trying to actually project their own candidates. So as a result of that, we need to look at that very, very, very strongly. But that notwithstanding, the onus is upon Samura Kamara again, understand? Based on the candidate that he will submit or present, the name of the candidate that he will submit, right? We have to look at several considerations. People are talking about religion, people are talking about tribe and all that.
Gender.
Now, in appointing, right, a running mate, it is by law and by custom, you understand? By law as provided by the Constitution in Section 54. And also by custom. Custom in the sense that customs and traditions, in the real sense of the word, they are not law. You understand? But they are generally accepted as norms and precepts, right? So as a result of the fact that they are accepted as norms and precepts, when appointing a running mate, these things had to be taken into consideration. The issue of regionalism, there should be a balance. You understand? Regionalism is very important. Now, many things have come up. The issue of gender, right, has become a big question now, right? And even religion is also another issue. Being that Dr. Samura Kamara is from the north, yes, from the north, right? I think it's from the northwest, right? Dr. Samura Kamara is from the northwest, right? And being that he's a Christian, though it is not a law, it has not been provided for in the Constitution, but it is but prudent that he takes these things into consideration. Say, for example, he might want to appoint somebody from the West. You look at the Western area now, you have about 3 contenders in the Western area, right? You have the likes of Honorable Cherno Majuba, Cheikh Kuku, you have Madina Rahman, you also have Mayor Yvonne Akisoya. But looking at these 3 people for the Western area, it will be fine if we can get somebody from the Western area. But we have to take experience into effect, you understand, in the sense that you look at somebody who, I will say, has the characteristic of having the experience, you understand, of governance, you understand. And also, we have to look at the fact that this person has to contribute. You understand? When I say contribute, contribute in 2 forms. Contribute to winning elections and contribute after winning elections. Because after winning elections is very important. That's why I say we can't just look at somebody because this person, we presume that this person has the tendency for the party to win election. You understand? We are not voting directly for the running mate, but it is a twin ticket. You understand? Right? A joint ticket, if you like, right? And we are voting for the 2 people, right? So looking at all this perspective, the issue of experience, that if I can assess all of them, you understand? Let's say we have Madina Rahman, right, from the Western area. Of course, little is known about him. Very little is known about him, right? About her, right? Very little is known about her. But the fact is, she was a minister, right? And she served under the former government, right? But could we use that as a barometer to measure her fitness or ability and charisma to suit the governance of the state after they could have won the election? Let's put it that way, right? Because of the fact that she could be a principal assistant to the president, right? In the case we are in, say, the APC won the election, you understand? She could be a principal assistant. We have to look at her, we have to assess her as to whether she has that ability and charisma and all that.
In your estimation, is she fit for purpose?
I can say all of them are fit for purpose, but you must have somebody that is more suitable than others, you understand? You also have the likes of Yvonne Akisoya. We are talking about winning election. We need to test, you understand, as to whether her popularity goes beyond the Western area, you understand? And whether she has actually, I hold the view that in terms of ability for governance, I want to believe she could contribute to that, you understand? But we have to look at the aspect of winning election, how popular she is, you understand? Then we look at Jagaban. Jagaban, of course, is a new man. And we cannot test his ability to say perhaps he will not be able to govern on behalf where the president is not around, understand? But there are a lot of questions. He's just coming. Very little is known about him, understand? Now you look at...
but he's using another force to get him being influential in the system. Money.
Yes, well, that is politics, right? And if we focus on you using capitalism, using finances to acquire, or for you to be incorporated, you understand? And people turn blind eyes and deaf ears to other factors, you understand? Because I am more concerned after winning election, you understand? Then we have the likes of Honorable Cheikh Kuku.
Right.
Of course, I stand to be corrected, but he has served in parliament for over 15 years, you understand? Or about 15 years, or let me say 3 terms, you understand? We look at a situation wherein he has served as the deputy leader of parliament, you understand? Of the opposition in parliament when this government is in administration. So meaning that a lot of bills have been passed in parliament. A lot of things have been passed, and most of the things that are passed has to do with governance. And I hold the view that he has an experience about those bills. Say, for example, if he comes to power, you understand, he knows how to trace those bills, certain contracts that have been entered into. I just hold the view that he'll be able to trace those areas. And I don't want to question his ability of governance.
How about his popularity beyond the Western area?
He's popular, I want to believe. He's popular, I want to believe, because we are talking about the tribal factor here, you understand? Now we have the Fulans, and people are saying they are the third largest group now in this country, you understand? And looking at the SLPP, remember in 2018, It was the APC that first appointed their flag bearer. Yes, their flag bearer as well as the running mates. And immediately the SNPP responded to that, right? And one will not say because, yes, the APC did not win the election in 2018, then the running mate will be questioned, right? The two leaders must be questioned as well, you understand? Because of the fact that they ran together. But we know the gymnastics and the circumstances of the time that occurred. So I don't think it will be bad, but the onus is upon the flag bearer and also NAC to choose among the 5 who is better off.
There's Diana Konomani on the ticket.
Yes, there is Diana Konomani, who hails from Kono, you understand? That is the eastern part of the country, you understand? And she has also served in 1 or 2 ministries, right? But I am wondering, after elections, right? And even before elections, looking at the Kono districts, and looking at the commotions, the disturbances that have occurred in that particular area, in terms of personality, questions and all that, probably she will be influential to some extent, right, in winning election. But we are looking after. Talking about a running mate, is somebody that should have a kind of an ability.
Are you questioning her competence?
I will not question it outrightly, but in as much as we are looking for a running mate, you understand, in terms of suitability, right, I have little doubt on that. Right? So with my assessment of all of them, it is upon you to do your assessment. It is upon Samura Kamara, Dr. Samura Kamara, right, to make his appointment.
What do you think of Sam Sumana?
Sam Sumana could be a fine running mate as well. It could be a fine running mate as well, because having served this country for almost 1 term and a half, right, and I will never doubt his ability and charisma. Even as a flag bearer, I will not doubt him, you understand, because he knows the politics of this country. Just as I mentioned Chei Kuku, you understand? Chei Kuku knows the politics of this country, you understand? But to look at the UK, to get a prime minister, right? That prime minister must have served in parliament. And that prime minister must have got wealth of experience in parliament before you become, because what we can say is a parliamentary system. It is not a presidential system. So in a presidential system, there is always the focus to run for a presidential ticket. And there is a need to have a running mate, because that is what is required. But parliamentary experience counts a lot. If you assess far back from let me say from the 1950s, because even before independence, we've already got a government. You understand? The SNPP was in governance. Now, if you look at that period to this particular time, you understand? You look at those that have performed better. I hold the view that those that have got wealth of experience in parliament have performed better, right? Because
so if it were you, would take some Chei Kuku for the ticket.
I hold that view.
Let me bring in Dr. Bangura. Dr. Bangura, you're following the conversation closely.
Yes, I'm wise.
Looking at those, who have expressed interest, those many people think, one of them should be the running mate to Dr. Samura Kamara. What is your assessment on them?
Well, my assessment generally is that all of them are competent. But we have to take into consideration certain things, as my predecessor, the speakers have already intimated this evening. Wise, we are talking about an election. And so the focus here is the popular candidate. And for us, in political analysis, in the Sierra Leone context, it is not clearly spelled out that, well, the issues of like religion, gender, region, ethnic identity, the age, all of them, they matter. But the political inclusion that will bring about the winning card, the winning ticket. So that is why when we look at all the candidates, like for example, Cherno Majuba, Chelikoko, Samsumana, Yvonne Akisoya, Diana Konomani, Medina Rahman, Mohamed Kamara Jagaban. The first 5, for example, they have all participated actively in Sierra Leone politics. But like Jagaban, well, is a new name in the Sierra Leone politics. But that doesn't in any way disqualify him for experience. Because what we know of him in the United States, that he's running many companies and small factories and industries to which he has employed so many Sierra Leoneans that 70% of the employees in his company and the enterprises are Sierra Leoneans. Already that also gives him a clout. But then when we look at also taking into consideration who Dr. Samura Kamara should choose, we start looking at what we call competitive advantage. By competitive advantage here in the ambit of politics is first of all popularity. But second, also what we call presidential clout. As my learned friends here, Marcos and Leone have been mentioning already, the person should have that presidential figure, that presidential charisma. That when he stands or when she stands, yes. Because as I mentioned already, whatever that candidate is, he or she has the potential of becoming the next president for any reason at any time. Then we look at the administrative and leadership experience that someone brings into politics. Because here we are talking about the governance of a whole nation. We are trying to move away from the APC dimension of it and to the national dimension. That is why another thing that will actually also influence is the political inclusion. For example, here we are talking of trying to get a base, a winning base. For example, we know that Dr. Samura Kamara is from the north, and that is the stronghold of the APC party. But then there is another thing that people are from the east. We have Sam Sumana, Finakonomani, Diana, and then also Jagaban from Kenima. That who can shake up in the opposition stronghold to win more votes. So I think Dr. Samura Kamara at this moment, he and his team are working closely to see how all of these gymnastics, these dynamics are playing together to see who can actually pull the crowds needed so that to let the party enter State House.
As you talk about that, let's go back. We've seen over time. In 2018, Dr. Mohamed Julia Jallo shook and took some votes from the opposition strongholds in the north. And of course, that's ended up giving them the State House. And now, he's still there, and he's still going to try to make that move. So, you mentioned those coming from the east. Dana Konomani, Sam Sumana, Mohamed Kamara, Jagaban from Kenema. Do you think the next person to be should come from either the southeast, so they're able to take some of the votes of the ruling SLPP to be able to compete fiercely in the 2023 elections?
To answer your question directly, I believe that, as I stated earlier on, when you talk of electioneering process, it's about numbers. Because these are the ones who determine the electoral percentage that you acquire from the elections. But here also, we have to look at so many things. That is why I believe that the National Advisory Committee, the NAC of APC, is looking into all of this together. I believe it's not an easy task for Dr. Samura Kamara at this moment. That he has to take into consideration all of these. And there are the sensitivities as well. Imagine, for example, the sensitivity of age is coming up. With my students at Florey College, for example, they are now looking at age and they are now looking at personalities. This issue of tribe, region, gender, and then religion and other things, they matter. But like the young generation, what we are seeing from especially the students that we have, and they carry the greatest percentage of the voters, they are now looking at personalities. That is, what can this person deliver? And so, therefore, the party, the APC party, should also be looking in that direction. Who among these 6 people has a possibility of pulling more crowds to allow the party to win the election? But then, as others have already mentioned, it's not only winning the election, but after the elections. What experience administrative and leadership, but also especially economic experience. What is derailing our country at this moment is a battered economy.
Samura Kamara already possesses that.
Yeah, but he alone he cannot. That is why he needs somebody who can team up with him to revamp the economy and fix the nation. And so for me, therefore, taking into consideration all of them, I don't want to actually pinpoint a particular name because these are very sensitive issues, but I'm only highlighting from an ideological point of view what someone should look for as a flag bearer, the qualities, the character traits. And as I highlighted them, the first is a competitive advantage. How popular this candidate is. How does this candidate cut across? Because the numbers that this candidate will pool will determine to help the winning of elections. The presidential clout. You can see somebody and say, yes, this is a presidential, he has presidential material, or she has. The administrative and leadership experience. As a person served in certain capacities before, and then how was that person successful in those capacities? Then the synergy that the person should create with the flag bearer. Because if they don't think alike, and they don't try to think alike, there can be differences, and it can worsen a situation wherein if a flag bearer and the running mate, and then let us say the president and the vice, they have differences, and then it can be a serious thing for the nation. And then the issue of inclusion. That others also, either it's from the tribe or the region, or the age, all of these are to be taken into consideration in selecting one. But at the end of the day, the choice is to be determined by the popular candidates that can help in winning the election.
All right. Let's quickly get to know these 6 people who want to be running it to Dr. Samura Kamara. Let's join Salifu Cherno Kamara to get a better understanding as to who are these people.
Diana Finda Konomani was born and raised in Koidu Town, Kono District, in the eastern region of Sierra Leone. She is a vibrant Sierra Leonean politician who in the past APC government was Minister of Lands, Country Planning and the Environment. She was also Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. Konomani is the APC former chairwoman of Kono District and had previously served as the All People's Congress chairwoman of the Eastern Province. Diana Konomani is widely considered one of the most influential and active female politicians in Sierra Leone. Honorable Cherno Ramadan Majuba, commonly known by his nickname Cherikoko, was born on Saturday, April 29, 1972, Brookfields in Freetown. He is a lawyer and politician who is currently the leader of opposition in Parliament since 2019 and previously held the position of Deputy Speaker of Parliament during the Kuruma-led government. Honorable Cherno Majuba is a third-term elected member of the Sierra Leone Parliament since 2007 to date, representing constituency 126 in the Western Area Urban, who is also the present majority leader of the opposition All People's Congress Party in Parliament. He was a running mate to Dr. Samura Kamara, who led the APC party in the 2018 general elections. Honorable Cherno Ramadan Majuba, commonly known as Cherikoko, is a well-respected Sierra Leonean politician and solicitor. Madina Rahman was former Deputy Minister of Health 1 during the past Kuruma-led administration. She is described as a charismatic personality who is not only innovative but has the innate and intense passion to serve humanity. Her love for humanity is described as unmatched, always zestful to ensure that the fundamental human rights of people are highly respected. In 2017, Madina Rahman was one of the aspirants for mayor of the Freetown municipality. She was regarded by many as a force to reckon with. But even though the mayoral ticket was not given to her, she remained a dedicated politician in the All People's Congress Party. Sheikh Alhaji Muhammad Kamara, alias Moni Jagaban, was born in Blama, Kenema District, Eastern Sierra Leone. He obtained his primary and early secondary education in Blama town and later progressed to the Prince of Wales Secondary School, POW, in Freetown. Mr. Kamara traveled to England after completing high school and later to the United States of America, where he obtained his undergraduate and postgraduate education and set up investments. Moni Jagaban is a business tycoon and a philanthropist who is the founder, executive director, and chief strategist of Our Care Inc., which is a non-profit agency dedicated to supporting individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities. His company is said to have a staff strength of close to 500, with 70% Sierra Leonean migrants. Sheikh Alhaji Muhammad Kamara has a net worth of over 50 million United States dollars, and he is said to have replicated similar investments in Sierra Leone, like the Blama Pure Water Company, currently setting up gas stations across the country, and also a factory to produce food items along the Waterloo-Mamama Highway. Yvonne Denise Akisoya, née Morgan, born on 7 January 1968, is a Sierra Leonean politician and member of the All People's Congress Party, APC. She is a finance professional who is serving as the current mayor of Freetown, Sierra Leone's capital city, and assumed office on May 11, 2018. Prior to becoming head of the Freetown City Council, Akisoya had worked extensively in the UK financial professional services industry. She had also pioneered or taken crucial roles in various charity and public service projects in the UK and Sierra Leone, including participation in the fight against Ebola in 2014 and the subsequent recovery initiatives. Among many interventions as a mayor of Freetown, she is known for the Transform Freetown project, which was launched on January 24, 2019, aimed at transforming Freetown through 11 priority sectors using an inclusive approach underpinned by innovation and data-driven performance management. Priorities of the project are grouped within 4 clusters, ranging from resilience, human development, healthy cities, and urban mobility.
All right, thank you very much, Salifu Cherno Kamara, for putting that together for us. Let's quickly go back to Abdoulaye Berete, who is there from Canada. Berete, I hope you've been following the conversation here and you've listened to the submissions that have been made with regards, I mean, what are the qualities that the running mate should possess, not only for winning elections, but after winning the governance architecture, because apparently he also holds the highest office in case there is a problem or the absence of the president. So with all that has been said and with the few profiles we put, if the APC now is to really take a seat and look at all of the candidates coming forward for the position, what should be the focus in the sense, because now we're seeing Samura Kamara having the power to select who his running mate would be, but then it's like having the president choosing, and that appointee goes to Parliament for vetting. So you have Samura Kamara and the NAC approving in a technical manner. What should the APC look for as to who becomes the running mate?
Thank you again, Samuel Wise, and I do appreciate the contributions made by the respective panelists so far. But for me, what is very clear, if I would go into the mind of Dr. Samura Kamara, the question would be, apart from your profound commitment to the APC as a party. What is your vision in the transformation of our country? I think that is very important, because if you listen to Dr. Samura Kamara over the years, particularly from 2018 to present, even in his statement of intent during the just concluded convention in Makeni, he was very clear that the interest for him to run as a flag bearer for the APC was to transform this country and also to restore the integrity when it comes to respecting human rights and constitutionality. Taking this into consideration, the question then would be, as a running mate, do you share the same vision as Dr. Samura Kamara? Is this just for you to be a running mate, to be named a running mate? What is your vision for Sierra Leone? Our young people right now, you can see them, even when they were coming from Makeni, the entire resonating phrase was, we don't tire with push, we want jobs. As somebody who wants to be a running mate, did you hear that? Are you going to support Dr. Samura in actualizing that vision? Would you be able to use international relations to represent us across the world, especially now that our image as Sierra Leone is being berated in the international system by virtue of the current bad governance we are experiencing? These are some of the hypothetical questions any potential running mate should be asking themselves. And Dr. Samura Kamara came in as a flag bearer on the platform of the grassroots people. I know, as somebody who is very much attuned to listening to the views of the grassroots, he would by now be having a lot of messages, a lot of considerations to say, Pa, now this person would think, say, we will work with you. And this is where it becomes a Herculean task for him. Hence, not naming a running mate immediately after his election at Makeni. But rather, he wanted also to incorporate the views of the grassroots people. They are the sufferers. They are the people who are encountering the devastation caused by the reckless way the country's economy is being handled right now. So we needed somebody who can stand tall to say, you know what, we will be able, I'll join you as an economist president. I'll join you to make sure that we'll address the micro policies of this country that will trickle down to the grassroots, whereby we'll try very much to do a balance of trade, wherein the dollar, which is right now skyrocketing beyond control, how do you come and share your vision, your own competence, by virtue of your experience over the years, to complement the vision of Dr. Samura Kamara to transform our country? Our young people are just tired of going through the temple run. How do we make sure they stay internally and be productive citizens? That is the vision of Dr. Samura Kamara. And that vision can be actualized if we have a running mate who will be there to say, you know what, even though I am delegating to you, as provided for in the Constitution, you being my principal assistant, will you also advise me prudently to make sure whatever actions I want to take will continue to be in the interest of Sierra Leone?
On the list, Abdullah Beriti, on the list already, do you see that individual who can complement Dr. Samura Kamara as you have put it? Do you see anyone on the list who can actually give that compliment to Dr. Samura Matthew Wilson Kamara as a running mate and vice president if elected in the June 24th polls?
I think we have among the list people who are highly competent. And for me, when I talk about competence, it is not just about coming in to be a running mate for us to win the elections, even though that is very key for us to covet the presidency. But what is also equally important, if I can also be the devil's advocate for Dr. Samura Kamara, is somebody who will have an impeccable character in terms of representing him at his behest. That way he knows that, you know what? If I were not to attend UN General Assembly, that person should eloquently be able to represent him to articulate the human rights violations in our country. That person should be able to face whatever crowd and articulate effectively what is the vision of Sierra Leone, what is our foreign policy. And this is where I think among the list, we have people, they are qualified in their own respective rights. But I only hope they will just go again and reflect to say, you know what? Of the many people who have expressed interest in terms of, one, connecting with the grassroots of the party. Secondly, what political capital will they bring into the governance of the country and the party? They will say, you know what, I think it is time for me to take a back seat. I have looked at myself. That person is more competent than I do. And this is where honesty and integrity comes to the governance of our country. When you want to vie for leadership, you look yourself, you evaluate yourself. You know, yes, I am the most qualified person among the lot. So I will not prejudice the thinking of Dr. Samura Kamara here, because I can imagine how Herculean it is for him right now.
But just quickly, if you are to give him an advice, based on the things you've mentioned and the qualities you are looking for in the running mates, who would you take?
I will just summarize. If I were to advise, it would be, you know what? Look at somebody who has the competence for us to win the elections, who can add political capital, somebody who is unreservedly committed to the ideals of the party, and who's ready to uphold the APC constitution, and at the national level, somebody who will be working to uphold the constitution, somebody that he can trust with absolute confidence, and somebody who has an invaluable vision for Sierra Leone, for the radical transformation of our country. Because as things are right now, we are on the edge with all the despicable policies this government is currently implementing. That is the kind of person I want to be my running mate, because time is of essence. Once Dr. Samura Kamara will have been announced as the next president, the next day, the vice president and Dr. Samura should be ready to go to work immediately. We have a lot to fix.
All right. Valnora Edwin, what should stand out in the person that will be selected as running mate to Dr. Samura Kamara? What should really stand out, Valnora? You've been advocating for good governance and democracy for the longest of time. What should truly stand out in the running mates?
I think what we need at this point in time is somebody who would serve as a unifier, somebody that we can have, when we're going to the elections, citizens can have that choice to say, I'm looking at this political party. Well, the two oldest political parties are usually the points of discussion. So I can look at this political party, the APC, for example, and see what the team is offering in terms of especially unifying the country. And you look at the SLPP and say, is that team also, even though they've been in governance, are they to be the ones to unify the country? So the key challenge I think we have now is the level of polarization we have, and we need to have that team, the two teams, or a team that's coming in because we have the incumbent, that would bring that assurance that we're going to unify the country. And of course, all the other factors that we're looking out for. And being advocating for women's empowerment over time, I think, again, there's a situation to think about, to see what, because women can be the same to the table, they'll be able to be, and to look. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are getting you. Go ahead, Valnora.
It's just about looking from among the, that individual that will be able to ensure that during elections on the election, Sierra Leone is at the forefront, the national agenda is at the forefront to unify the country.
So looking at the names, Valnora, with the brief profile we've done of all 6 candidates whose names have been mentioned to have expressed interest or are perceived to have interest in the running mate position of VAPC. We have three, I mean, there's a fine gender balance on the list. We have three women and 3 men there. And looking at the regions, we also have 3 people coming from the east and 3 from the west. And looking at religion, we're seeing almost all, with the exception of 1, who is a Christian, the mayor. All others, I guess, are Muslims. So with all of these things, and you're talking about the gender card, what would give more political capital to the ticket of Dr. Samura Matthew Wilson Kamara? Is it if he chooses a woman or he chooses a man? What gives him more political gains on the gender card? Oh, Valor, are you there with us?
Sorry, maybe it's on my side. I didn't get the question too clearly.
All right, the question I asked about is what gives Dr. Samura Kamara more political capital on the gender card? If he chooses a woman, does that work well for him, for his political ambition? If he chooses a man, with the way the world is going, talk about women and all of that, what gives him a more political gain?
In my submission,
go ahead.
Whether it's a man or a woman, there are certain qualities that they're supposed to have to ensure that they look at the economy, they look at the country, they bring in things, because to win, it's not just about somebody. Outside those who are tied to a particular political party, independent thinkers. And they are also going to look at issues that the running mate and the team would bring to in terms of the economy, in terms of building the private sector, in terms of unifying the country, in terms of social cohesion, and in terms of, the issue around the region they might be coming from, the constituencies they have. These are all the packages that Sierra Leoneans are looking out for, especially those who are independent thinkers, are not necessarily tied to any political parties. These are the crucial things that are being discussed in various. So, man or woman who want, but of course, man or woman, these things are still pertinent. They're still on the table. These are the issues that needs to be addressed.
All right, I have to run through a few messages quickly, but just before I do so, let's go to the streets of Freetown quickly. We spoke to some citizens on their take on the running mates issue in the APC. Let's get to listen to them.
And I love the cherry because cherry although yes, you know, reach out the size, but we expect us every time. I love that because of the government, they give respect to the party. And the party says that we value the party. And we don't let the party go and come. Since they know the party, they don't know. So for that reason, they say, we love the party. And me, I love the party 1,000%. I love the cherry because cherry although yes, you know, reach out the size, but we expect us every time. I love that because of the government, they give respect to the party. And the party says that we value the party. And we don't let the party go and come. Since they know the party, they don't know. So for that reason, they say, we love the party. And me, I love the party 1,000%. I love cherry cake. I love the most.
Because as to waiting, we observe among the political people who they run that limelight day of the running mate, we get names them politically. Yeah? But waiting me, they look at my own point of view. Trust me, Samura Kamara is an architect we know the ins and outs of Sierra Leone for making a better country, and a person in a way moderate. That is true. And if we get any other person, we're very, very much outspoken. We will walk side and side with our will, articulate, talk on the issues then. challenge the issues them, and then go out there, come with subjects we can join together for make a better Sierra Leone. To me, despite of the gender, look, we people can look at her. Me, I prefer if they give even a kiss on. Yes, because I go McKinney, I take the train and I follow, I see the trend at which, and before now, safe the woman waiting and don't do as an opposition, that in council, the challenges the way don't they get. I know see if you get that kind of freedom and that kind of atmosphere, you go do something bigger than this, And so if you go be the first person yourself as salon and make a history, for Lord get us running mate, I know what that woman can do. Several times you don't go represent Sierra Leone internationally. They do well and they come up with awards and money. So we think people in that front line there, I believe so we'll get better change in salon.
Really, but I believe we want to make the decision for choose Samura Kamara and get the experience and they know that will be best really for the running mate. But I will say the need for sit down back at the drawing board and try for things for somebody who get the experience. Even though if I could remember the past government really try to say the one for make sure say the youth the day before for do anything. But in that area of a running mate for the country as a whole, I believe so we need somebody who really gets some kind of administrative experience politically, where I believe she will be able to consider the youth and make sure say the youth then be in charge of their own affairs. So based on that, I know say behind the way they could really go waiting for them.
And when we look, if we look towards run a win election, you will see where it counts some Sumana for love get a balance of the economy. Because we always don't take economy as a thing to. But looking at the credibility and honest and trust and loyalty, the way if you don't do, you look at Cherry Coco, the other way around. You don't understand? Because governance now all about trust. So that Agoye will get 100% command over. Udagoye will do what I want to do. If I left the country, because most the role of the vice president is now for run the internal affairs. You understand? For let you know Uda gets the people that are at heart. We know how governance they work. If you look to other side, you prefer Cherry Coco for like campaign. You don't understand? And more so Sam Sumana. Now, a wild experience where you don't get from the former president. You don't understand? You don't work with him. Honestly, now a good leader, you don't get anything for let you talk about him because looking at the area where he comes, political competition where we take sick corner a swing state. So, and if we get for need the corners, we get for count Sam Sumana.
For me, I believe say the party don't choose the flag bearer. But for me, because I believe say the only person I know say we will fit that particular position today because this thing we don't happen for 2018. We lose by the only mate. Sheikh Koko is capable actually for me for now because I need Sam Sumana because Sam Sumana is capable of that particular idea. And Sam Sumana are the only person for now where we able to convict the people them. I think.
Unions. But just quickly, let me run through some messages on Facebook. Sam Mokoa is saying Southeast running mate is very important to Dr. Samura Kamara. If not, it will be costly for us. We don't need Northwest running mate because Dr. Samura Kamara has already accumulated the votes for us. All those coming out from the Northwest are also dependent upon the votes Dr. Samura Kamara popularity has accumulated from Sam Mokoa. The grant is saying it is very difficult to market Dr. Samura Kamara. Reason being, he is not a radical politician. He's a technocrat with vast knowledge in his field. Idris Toure saying if Samura is going to choose any running mate from the Southeast, it's going to be a female. Definitely not Sam Sumana. Astagfirullah. Make you go sit down and give chance to others. Waiting different way a one come with, we not be able for do it in the day. All right, interesting. I'm going to take out those 5 more messages because of time. Foley Alfred Fubawa is saying, even if you're born in a particular region, that doesn't mean you would have massive support in the coming election. Sierra Leoneans are no longer fools. We vote for people who have done, or we expect that when he or she comes to power, they will do something positive for the country. Michael Kuka is saying, I suspect Sam Sumana is not as popular in Kono as before. He's a flip-flopper and folks are just trying him. Joe Cabs Jr. is saying, Mohamed Jagaban will be a good asset for APC, especially when he's from Kenema, the East. APC and the Dr. Samura Kamara himself knew he is in a court and they forcefully elected him just to be... okay, that's not what we're discussing here tonight. So many messages. Unfortunately, time will not permit me to go through all of them, I'm afraid, guys. Let me just take 2 more. Kamara Charles is saying, how can the APC unify this nation when the presidential candidates... okay, I'm not going through that. Samura Kamara has failed all local or non-local interviews. Not only that, okay. Mr. Berete, you are saying APC can unify Sierra Leone when Samura Kamara is preaching. All right, interesting. We were expecting an... okay. I think I have to hold the messages that when it's politics, it's always crazy, the comments. So I have to hold the messages there. And just quickly, Reverend, as we try to wrap up the conversation, fundamentally laying the tracks to choosing who becomes the running mate. What are the clear criteria that the person must possess, must meet, if at all he would go on to make a winning ticket?
Definitely, those have been identified. Those 3 factors are clear. Uniting the people. You need somebody who will do that. Looking at the background of the APC, wanting to win the elections, you want to have what it takes to win the elections and then to govern the nation afterwards. But let me go beyond that and say this. We are looking at a situation wherein the dynamics have changed. In the past, both of them were selected. But now it is one person, even though his decision is going to be vetted by a group. You mentioned you gave the analogy of the president nominating and then Parliament approving. Right. That's the situation he finds himself in. So he has the responsibility to make the choice based on the critical factors that we've mentioned. But going beyond that, we must move this thing beyond speculation. For now, it's almost like it's the people who are saying this one is interested, that's interested. Samura Kamara should be in a position to know who is interested in serving with him. Now, he is the sole person with that decision to say, this is the person that I am nominating to run with me. Well, of course, afterwards, NAC will come in to help fine-tune the decision. For me, if I were in his shoes, I would do this. If you are interested in serving with me, put in a letter of intent and tell me what you are bringing to the table that I can show to the people and say, by the manner in which I was elected, in my party I'm a popular candidate, as it were. But now, this is what those who are saying they want to run with me, this is what they're saying. And you take that back to the people. That is within the context of your party. Well, I'm coming from a classroom background. You have several students submitting say an assignment. But you have your criteria that you are looking at, a marking scheme to help you decide whether this is the best student in the class or not. And for me, that is the approach I want Dr. Samura Kamara to use. Otherwise, he's going to be so choked. And let's not forget, they came from McKinney. It would appear as if efforts have been made to unite the party. But this, again, in choosing a running mate, has the tendency
to throw a wrench in the works.
Yes, so he has to be very careful with it. And I am speaking from the perspective of a national institution. The decision of who becomes a running mate to Samura Kamara is also a national decision. And it must not just be seen as the decision of a party. And therefore, its decision must reflect that national outlook to ensure at the end of the day, whatever happens will be in the best interest of this country.
All right. Alhaj, unprecedentedly, we saw, for example, where the SLPP, if for the first time in a very long time, I mean, continues with the running mates, like President Julius Maada Bio. We've seen from the days of late Tijan Kaba throughout, and even in 2012, it was Kadisi Sey. And so many were not sure whether or not the president would have chosen Mohamed Julde Jallow again. But Reverend just mentioned that he should ask people to, Samura should ask people to express their interest in writing and what they're bringing to the table. So in the quest of having a winning ticket, should he request for people to express interest, or should he go in search of someone he thinks can actually deliver?
I hold the unfettered conviction that Dr. Samura Kamara, being that he's the standard bearer and he wants to win the 2023 elections, the onus is upon him to actually go in search for a suitable candidate, a candidate he can team up with to win the 2023 elections. And not only that, a candidate that will have governance capacity, right, to govern the state in his absence. And if for any reason anything negative happens, that individual will be in capacity to ensure that he steers the ship of this country. I would like to liken the race of appointing a running mate to a football team. Samura Kamara at the moment is the manager and coach, right? And there are certain times when you need to tactically, right, strategize. Now, looking at what the SLPP has done, right, having appointed Julde, and he's coming from the Fuller tribe, make no mistake, there are certain things we don't need to treat with a pinch of salt.
You mean
right?
this guy plays a very crucial role?
It plays a very crucial role, right? Now, the reason why I mention football team is because there are certain times you see to score a goal, there is a need sometimes to win that particular game. You can even strengthen your defense. And sometimes you want to score goal, you will have to change perhaps a defender, you play with the three players at the back, you understand, and you put more attackers. Now, looking at the fact that President Bio retained Julde, right? And looking at the fact that there is the APC now caught in the web of decision making, you understand? And you look at the Fullers, right? It is being propagated that they are the third largest tribe in Sierra Leone. And they are scattered all over the country.
If the Fuller plays a crucial role in choosing, I mean, let's look at the I have always said no political party has won a national election with just the support of its tribe.
No, yes. So
the question I want to ask, if the Fuller plays a crucial role, you have the NDA, for example. In 2018, it put forward a Fuller as a presidential candidate, and of course, they've also elected Mohamed Siba, who is also a Fuller, as the party's presidential candidate. But they did not even get up to 0.001%.
No one tribe will dominate, right, or will accelerate an individual to power. No one tribe will do that.
Right.
But you have tribes that can serve as an auxiliary force, you understand, for them to actually give that support. And we don't need to turn blind eyes and deaf ears to that, because looking at the situation, that's why I liken it to a football team,
right,
because of the fact that with that, now let's say another person is appointed.
Quickly, please.
You understand? If that individual is appointed, I tell you that almost 70% of Fullers may vote SLPP. Okay. So it's better for it to be divided. But again, I want to say one last thing.
Quickly, please. Yeah.
That looking at the Kono factor as well, right? Sam Sumana should not be treated with a pinch of salt. He's an individual that has the ability to actually sway people on his behalf. So looking at the two individuals, then I think we can push.
Dr. Bangura.
Yes, sunrise.
What should the APC take into consideration at this critical and crucial period of choosing a running mate?
I keep hampering on the fact of the popularity.
Who do you think is the most popular candidate on the list?
I can name two.
Go ahead.
Cheriko is very popular. Samsumana is very popular. Well, of course, within the Western area, I mean nationwide. Okay, if I can start from the bottom, Mohamed Jagaban is not so popular. It's only coming to the political limelight now.
But his cash is giving him popularity.
Yeah, but he's catching in popularity.
Very much love.
Yes, especially because of, well, it throws away, it throws money and encourages. So when you talk about the popularity, on the social media, as I follow, Madina Rahman is much more popular. I see posters of her around everywhere on social media. And I think, I don't know so much about the others because I've not seen as if they have expressed their intention, their interests. But like General Majuba, we know, we know he has a passion. And then Madina Rahman also has a passion because we see posters about. So therefore, that is why. But for me, I come back again to the issue of the sensitivity of the Konos. We are not tribalizing things, but when we look at the political history of Sierra Leone, the Konos have always expressed interest in the leadership of this country. From even before independence and after independence, the Kono Conservative Party was there for a long period. And they have always been sensitive to this. And that is why people, they call the Kono district as the swing state. That is why for me it's very much important. I'm not saying that, I'm suggesting that there should be a Kono candidate. Yes. But rather, however, they should not be slighted.
Okay.
And so when they talk of popularity, I think General Majuba cuts across.
Beyond the West.
Yes.
All right. Abdullah Berete, you're still there with us. Just quickly as we wrap up, what's next for Dr. Samura Kamara? I mean, assuming you are his advisor, what's next? Are you, Abdullah Berete, are you getting me? Yeah, go ahead.
Is reviewing all the potentials, even including people who may not have come out visibly to express an interest. There could be somebody in a quiet corner, I beg your pardon, who may be a potential running mate. We don't know. So this is where the onus is on him. But whilst we are talking about good governance, internal democracy in parties, which will cascade into the national spectrum, I want to take this opportunity to unequivocally condemn the attacks on our newly elected Secretary General, Lansana Doumbouya. As a party, we are very much averse to that, and we hope, whilst we are coming up with all these names for running mates, we need somebody who can stand for the respect of human rights in our country. And by now, I'm expecting, after 72 hours, the government should have come out with a statement, especially when the presidential guards were being named as the perpetrators. So this is where, when we talk about internal democracy in our parties, we should also be able to translate this into the national milieu, because at the end of the day, our trump card as a democratic nation can only gain relevance internationally when we strive with human rights activists, democracy campaigners, human rights lawyers, etc., to make sure our constitution is respected and that the rule of law is upheld. And that is where we need a running mate who will cherish those values, especially upholding Chapter 3 of all the relevant sections of our 1991 Constitution. That is the type of running mate I'm looking forward to, for Dr. Samura to come and complement his vision for the transformation of our country.
Do you have that on the list already, amongst the 6 names I've mentioned?
Well, this is a wait and see for now, because I don't want to prejudice Dr. Samura's vision for our country. That is why he's doing intensive consultations right now. But trust that whosoever he names as a running mate, that person, you'll never be disappointed, will stand the test of time to protect our constitution and promote good governance in Sierra Leone.
Valnora, quickly, what should take precedence in choosing the running mates?
I think, as has been stated, a particular ethnic group does not give candidates an edge over others. We would like to see somebody who cuts across ethnicity, cuts across the region, and the underlying thing is somebody, people who can come in to unify the country, to complement the vision of what people would like to see, and to ensure that the electoral process, the elections itself, is worthwhile. So whoever wins the election at the end knows that they have a task, they have to fulfill the social contract, and the most important thing is how do you unify the country and how do you that the economy, which is the underlying thing. In fact, the individual needs to cut across not only ethnicity and region or even gender, but also the intergenerational conversation, the issues around youth, the issues around the elderly people. You need somebody who signifies all of that. When we see that individual, we see all of these threads coming in together.
Thank you very much, Abdullah Berete, former presidential spokesman. Thank you very much, Valnora Edwin, good governance and democratic campaigner. Thank you very much, Reverend Jibril Akabo, Communications Director, National Commission for Democracy, Alhaj Marcos Bangura, Executive Director, Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability, and Dr. Leonard Omar Bangura, Head of Political Science Department at Frabe College, University of Sierra Leone. Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies, for being part of the conversation here tonight. Many thanks to those of you who watched us on Channel 33, on DSTV Channel 399, listened to us on FM 101.7, and those of you who followed on our different social media handles, and those of you who contributed by sending in your comments. But I pleaded that you tailor your messages to the issues being discussed. Unfortunately, not many of us heeded to that, so forgive me for not reading many of your messages out. Until we meet again here next week with more interesting conversations on AYV on Sunday as we build up to the June 24th polls. I have been your host. My name is Samuel Wisebango. The show has been AYV on Sunday. Until next, have a lovely night and enjoy yourself.